So let's talk about the Bhagavad Gita. But we're not just going to look at a few quotes. No, we're going to uncover its complete architecture, the hidden blueprint that makes it one of the most powerful operating manuals ever created for the human mind. You've probably heard its verses everywhere, right? From yoga classes to business seminars. They're powerful, they're memorable. But here's the thing, they're usually just tiny pieces of a much, much bigger puzzle. And when you just pull out those quotes, the real, deep, interconnected meaning, well, it gets lost. People start sticking labels on it. It's a religious text, it's a philosophy, it's a beautiful poem. And by doing that, they often miss what it truly is at its very core. And that, right there, is the key we're unlocking today. The Gita isn't just a random collection of inspiring lines. It's a complete, logical system, a blueprint for the mind. And once you see that structure, well, it changes everything. So for a moment, let's just push all those labels aside. At its heart, the Gita is an intensely practical manual. It's a step-by-step framework designed to take a person from a state of total inner collapse to one of profound clarity and incredibly effective action. So where does this huge journey to clarity actually begin? You might think it starts with some lofty, enlightened ideal, but it doesn't. It begins with something deeply and honestly, uncomfortably human. The entire dialogue kicks off with a warrior, Arjuna, having a complete and total breakdown right on the battlefield. He's confused, he's paralyzed by doubt, he's torn apart by this huge moral conflict, and he is just completely overwhelmed by his emotions. This is where it all starts. And you've got to ask yourself, right? Why would you start a profound spiritual text at the absolute lowest possible point? Why on earth begin with failure? Well, the answer is just so simple, but so profound. The Gita is telling us its purpose from the very first page. This isn't some abstract philosophy for a library shelf. It's a response system for those moments when our own intelligence fails us. And this is such a critical point to understand. The Gita is not a manual for running away from the world. It is a guide for engagement. It's about how to function with total clarity and integrity right in the middle of life's most crushing challenges. Okay, so how do we navigate all of this? Well, the Gita doesn't leave us hanging. It gives us this amazing three-phase blueprint that organizes all 18 chapters into a perfectly logical flow. Understanding this is the key to the whole thing. The whole system unfolds in three really clear stages. First, you have the diagnosis. It identifies exactly what's broken in the way we think. Second, there's the correction. It gives us the tools to act in a totally new way, one that doesn't create more problems. And finally, you have stabilization. This is how we make that clarity a permanent part of who we are, not just some temporary high. All right, let's dive into phase 1. This covers chapters 1 through 6, and it's all about the diagnosis. Think of it like we're popping the hood on a car to repair the broken machinery of our own decision-making process. So here's how that repair job unfolds. Chapter 1 shows us the collapse itself, what happens when our intelligence is hijacked by attachment. Then Chapter 2 lays the foundation. What is the self? What does stability even look like? By Chapter 3, we learn that trying to do nothing, inaction, is actually a dangerous trap. Chapter 4 shows us how to combine knowledge with action. Chapter 5 completely redefines renunciation. It's not about quitting your life, it's about inner detachment. And finally, Chapter 6 gives us the practical tool of mind discipline, meditation as essential system maintenance. So the big takeaway from this whole first section, it's a repair manual. It's designed to fix the flawed logic and the emotional attachments that get us into a crisis in the first place. Okay, so once that internal machinery is back online, phase 2 kicks in. And here, our perspective just expands. The focus shifts from our own little mind to understanding the very nature of reality itself. In these next chapters, it's like the camera zooms way out. We explore the different levels of nature, material versus conscious. We learn why awareness is so critical, especially at the end of life. We discover a kind of devotion built on deep understanding, not blind faith. We learn to see excellence in the world as a signature of a universal order. Chapter 11 pushes our boundaries, showing us a vision of reality that's way beyond our comfort zone. And then Chapter 12 decodes what bhakti or devotion really is, not just some fluffy emotion, but a powerful state of mental stability. And what's so important to get here is that this phase isn't about asking you to adopt a new belief system. Not at all. It's about literally upgrading your perception so you can see the world and your place in it with a whole new level of clarity.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important phase. This is where everything we've learned, the corrected action and the expanded perception, gets integrated. This is where theory becomes your lived reality.
This final section is where it all clicks into place. Chapter 13 makes a crystal clear distinction between you, the awareness, and the field of your experiences. Chapter 14 introduces the 3 gunas. You can think of them as life's 3 basic operating modes: clarity, passion, and inertia. Chapter 15 uses the metaphor of an upside-down tree to explain why life can feel so confusing. We then dive into practical ethics, different types of faith, until finally, Chapter 18 brings it all home. It's the grand synthesis where action, knowledge, and devotion all align perfectly into a life of true freedom. And really, this is the ultimate payoff of the whole system. The freedom, the liberation, described in the Gita isn't about escaping from the world. It's the natural consequence of seeing clearly and acting correctly, right in the thick of it all. So when you strip away all the centuries of misinterpretation and confusion, what is the Gita really trying to teach us? Well, it's often the complete opposite of what people assume. This slide really gets to the heart of it. The common misconception is that it tells you to quit life. The actual teaching is to act, but without your ego driving the show. People think it says to suppress emotion. It actually says to think, but without distortion. It's not about following blindly, it's about serving with purpose, without losing yourself in the process. And this idea, right here, this is the core of it all. This is the central teaching. Real freedom isn't found by running away from your responsibilities. Real freedom is the inner stability that allows you to perform your duty perfectly, without collapsing inside. So, think of everything we've just gone through as the map. We've laid out the entire blueprint. But a map isn't the journey, right? The next step is to actually walk the terrain. So I'll just leave you with this question. If you're someone who values real clarity over easy comfort, if you prefer logic over just empty slogans, and you're looking for wisdom instead of just noise, then are you ready for this journey? If you are, then I invite you to subscribe to Decoded Gita Wisdom right here. We're about to start walking that terrain together, beginning with a really deep dive into Chapter 1 and that universal human experience of what happens when our intelligence fails. Thank you so much for joining me.